Hi, Aslam. Okay, couple quick little exercises that you should probably start doing at this point. Um, I'm assuming that you're kind of having like little to no pain, maybe just the occasional twinge of pain when you move too quick or something like that. Keep respecting that, even when doing the exercises, especially when doing the exercises. None of this should hurt. If it hurts, you're going too far into whatever position we're exploring with these, okay? Or you're going too intense with your contractions, whatever the case might be. Just back it down if you feel any symptoms or pain, especially radiating pain. That's the enemy number one, so be really careful of that. Really quickly, we have to start stretching and stressing all of the forming scar tissue in and around that disc so that it heals up nice and resilient and flexible and strong, and your chances of a recurring future injury go down. Okay, dokie? So let's look at a couple really gentle ways to kind of start doing that, when we should do it and when we shouldn't do it, okay? So all of the stretching that we do on this disc right now, especially anytime we're taking our back into flexion like this, all of that should be unloaded at this point. We shouldn't be doing any unloaded flexion of our back. Let me rewind that. We shouldn't be doing any loaded flexion of our back. So that means no picking up stuff with a bent back, no bending over with a rounded back. All of that's off the table for at least another month. Okay, just to be careful. Okay, we can do that kind of positioning when we're unloaded in like a laying position or in a quadruped position, or hands and knees. So let's look at a couple of ways we can do that. Laying on our back. One thing to start exploring is pelvic tilts. So you can put your hands on your pelvis. You can push your lower back down into the bed by squeezing your butt and your abdominal muscles together, which is going to tilt your pelvis back and create that kind of flex position they just saw me do standing up. And then alternate that with a deep arch. So tilting your pelvis forward, squeezing your lower back muscles until your back arches, and your belly kind of protrudes forward a little bit like that. We're going, we're putting pressure on the back of the disc when we do that. Alternating really incredibly slowly between those two positions. Really slow, tilt forward, and I'm tilting right back rather than now I'm tilting forward again, back and forth. Really incredibly slowly, I don't know, something like 10 times. And then kind of be able to kind of find neutral. Find the position directly in the middle of those two extremes. Okay? When we're in neutral, okay, now, when we're back into neutral, after maybe we've gone through, I don't know, 5 to 10 little revolutions of tilting forward like so, tilting back, making sure that it's all pain-free. If we hit pain on any of those two extremes, just go a little bit slower on your next repetition and a little bit less far into the position. When we've come back to neutral, we're going to practice something called an abdominal brace. This is going to kind of come into play for us later when we're doing anything loaded with our spine, so anything standing up or picking stuff up or bending. What we've got to do, and you might want to come in close to me on this one, Amanda. Is it
Yes, it's on.
there?
It's
Okay,
on.
so we're gonna push our fingers into our, here's our belly button in the middle. We're gonna take our fingers and push into the soft part of our stomach, under our ribs and above our little pelvis here. Pushing in. And what I want you to do is I want you to perform a little abdominal brace. So what this is the same kind of squeeze you do when you're pooping or when you're straining really hard, okay? So I just squeeze my stomach muscles like I'm trying to take a poop, okay? Now notice if you zoom in on my hand right here, when I do that squeeze, my stomach muscles push my fingers out, and then when I relax, that it goes back in. Okay, I want you to practice this until you can, at will, turn on that squeeze without your pelvis tilting forward or backward. So that movement we did just a second ago where we're tilting forward and backward, none of that should happen when we're performing this abdominal brace. You should be able to turn that squeeze on without any tilt, okay? You should be able to keep it on for as long as you want. Let's try to go for at least 10 seconds in the beginning. While breathing, notice when I turn on this brace, I don't have to hold my breath. I don't have to do anything like this. Okay, that's overkill. I don't have to squeeze that hard. I want to put on a bit of a squeeze, hard enough to where it's pushing my fingers out, not so intense that I can't talk and breathe normally. So notice I'm just normally breathing while keeping that squeeze tight, and now I turn it off at will. Bang. None of that involved any weird shifting of my pelvis. None of it involved me holding my breath. I want you to practice that until you master it, and you can just at will turn on that abdominal brace and at will turn it back off. Okay, okay. Next little move, that's gonna, like I said, that's gonna come into heavy play later. Later on, I'm gonna cue you to brace your abdomen whenever we do more complicated loaded movements, okay? So let's back up real quick. Another unloaded movement that we can try doing. This is the pelvic tilting that we just did on our back, but we're doing it on our hands and knees now. So I'm slapping my hands down. I'm gonna tilt my pelvis backwards this way by squeezing my abdominal muscles in my butt. And then I'm gonna tilt my pelvis forward by squeezing my back muscles. It's just a little cat-cow from yoga, okay? Once again, going really, really slow and stopping before there's any symptoms, any pain or discomfort. And especially no radiating pain. We do not venture into any of that stuff, okay? Run through those 5 to 10 times, a couple times a day. The pelvic tilting from the back and the pelvic tilting from your hands and knees. Okay, now up on our feet, this is where things get a little bit more, not unsafe, but a little bit, we have to be a little bit more careful with these. We're gonna practice bending from our hips without bending from our back. So all of this tilting that we just did, we're doing 0% of that once we're up on our feet loaded. I'm gonna put my hands on my thighs, and I'm gonna try to push my lower back behind me, okay? And notice that all of this bend, and I'm still using my hands on my thighs so that I'm not like loading my back. Now my back is loaded, now my back is pretty much unloaded because I'm using my hands to take away gravity. And then I can kind of climb back up to a neutral position. All of that with a perfectly neutral back without any rounding or tilting of my back, okay? So once again, hands on my thighs. At this point, we can start experimenting with a little bit of an abdominal brace. That same brace that we practiced right there, I tighten my stomach until it's tight enough to where it's pushing my fingers away, but to where I can still breathe normally. Hands on my thighs, I slide down, push my hips back. Okay, I keep my brace on, and then I can walk my hands up or kind of use my hands to push up my thighs to come back to neutral. And that's it for now. We'll just kind of...
Yay!
Okay.
Hi, Islam.